Hi there, everybody. Welcome to another episode of the Cloud-Based Mayhem. Before we get into this amazing show with Jeremy Soper, who broke the hang gliding out and back record this year in Kenya, breaking Owen Morse's record, who we've also had on the show out in the Sierras quite a few years back. But he went 377, I believe, in Kenya, and great story about all that. But before we get to it, just wanted to once again thank you all for getting through this period of switching over to our subscriber channel to get those full-length shows. The difficulties are becoming less and less. Most of the people have figured it out, but if you're still struggling with any of that, let me know. Send me an email. Just get on the website and you'll find the contact page there. Send me an email and I'll get you all set up. But we're putting things up on the website that encodes your username and password for those of the podcasting apps that require that. For linking to that feed, which not many of them do, but a couple do. But anyway, we're figuring it out. It's getting easier and easier, and we thank you for your patience and your support of the show. It makes it all happen. Thank you, and thanks for listening. So yeah, this one with Jeremy. He's a British pilot, and he's been into hang gliding for a long time, and he really likes pushing limits and going big. And this year he laid down, after weeks of trying, a big one in Kenya. Had a number of other big ones, but then laid down the big one, 377 out and back, which broke the HG out and back record, and talks about all the kind of trials and tribulations and risks of doing that in Kenya and landing out and doing it with a hang glider and all the benefits and joy of flying prone. And as I have promised, we're going to be getting more hang gliders on the show. We've needed to do that for years, and I've been slacking doing that. But Jeremy's also, he just moved out to California to raise some money, and he's got a pretty positive outlook on the potential for AI. And of course, some of the risks that we're hearing a lot in the news and the media these days. But his angle is really cool. It's using robots to weed organic farms, and so which is always tricky with weeding in general, but instead of using Roundup and pesticides, using robots. So we talk a bit about AI and the future of AI and robots and where that's going, and just a fascinating talk with a fascinating individual who just happens to fly hang gliders really, really well. He also laid down a pretty big FAI triangle from the Col d'Azard, where all the number of PG records have gone down this year, where I ended my 2021 race, I believe is right where I ended that. But he laid down a 325 FAI and talks about, just almost a call out to the hang gliding community that they got to go bigger than paragliders. And right now, the FAI record is in the hands of paragliders. So he talks about that's not a good thing for the future of hang gliding. So we get into a little bit of that future of the hang gliding, and also some up and coming potential really big changes in flex form and how hang glider and what hang gliders can do, and improving on their design, which hasn't seen a real major shift in quite some time. So that was pretty exciting as well. Lots of good things here, whatever wing you fly. This is really fun and a really cool talk with a very fascinating individual. Enjoy. Jeremy, it's great to have you on the show, and I appreciate you fitting this in, considering it sounds like you've been moving all over the place.
I have indeed.
Last I saw, your stuff was in the Kerio Valley in Kenya, and now I think we should start with what you're doing. You're British, but you're in Silicon Valley zone to what with robots?
Come here to make my fortune. The streets are paved with gold, haven't you heard? I am here to ultimately automate all physical labor and build us the infrastructure of abundance on Earth and in space. But we're starting by deploying teleoperated humanoid avatars to weed organic farms in the Salinas Valley, which is the salad bowl of the world, just an hour out of Silicon Valley. We'll be basically mounting 16 pairs of humanoid arms on the back of a tractor and teleoperating them remotely from Honduras to pull weeds out of the ground.
Whoa. Okay, so I think we got to start with what's your view of AI? It sounds like yours is maybe more optimistic than some.
Yeah, I am in the business of AI, so I'd better sound positive about it. I think it's so far it's largely overpromised and underdelivered when it comes to the physical world. So that's why we're keeping humans in the loop for as long as it takes to automate work reliably, because lots of people have tried to deploy robots into the real world and they've failed miserably, and we're not going to make exactly those same mistakes, hopefully.
And what is your vision for, if we can use robots to gather lettuce and we kill all those jobs? Do you see a vision where, robots are able to radically increase abundance across the planet? And if it aligns with, human goals, I think the most optimistic view is there's plenty of everything, and most problems are solved either quickly or sometime in the near future, which gives everybody, top to bottom, a lot more time if we can figure out how it doesn't go to just the top. But is it a UBI? What do we do with, if we don't need plumbers anymore?
UBI is there's probably going to be some form of UBI. You would say that, for illustration, agriculture went from involving 99% of the population to involving less than 2% in the space of a few generations, whilst increasing yield 50 to 100 times. So we've already experienced the biggest step change within living memory, and there's no reason that a similar multiplication couldn't happen again, that we can just keep driving down the number of people involved in certain physical industries whilst freeing them up to do things that we can't even imagine as of today. So there will always be things for people to do. We just don't know what they are yet.
One of my favorite podcasters is Sam Harris, philosopher and everything else. I don't know how much you listen to him, but people have been asking him a lot, hey, I'm going into college. What kind of degree should I get? And, is it going to be eliminated? And his answer lately is really, we just don't know. And, we're still going to need doctors, even though, AI can take over a lot of clinical analysis kind of stuff, but we're still going to need them. We're still going to need nurses. We're still going to need philosophers. We're still going to need, it's too early to say, a degree is still important. What would you say to that? Where would you, if you had kids, do you have kids?
I do not. But if I did, I would tell them,
where would you shoo them
not
into?
necessarily to go down the traditional route of getting a degree. For me, that was what I thought I had to do, and I went and got as many hard skills as I could. But increasingly, we're seeing soft skills being the valuable aspect of what keep us humans from going obsolete. So I would encourage them to go and just make lots of friends, and pursue passions, perhaps with more emphasis than going down a specific career route. Because if you find something you love, then you'll become good at it, and then maybe you'll get paid for it further down the line.
Well, that was a brilliant segue without us planning it. I assume your passion is hang gliding, or what?
Yeah, I've never yet worked out how to get paid for that. I walk up to
you in the bar. I don't know who you are. And what's that?
I've never yet worked out how to get paid for that. So I'm not a good example.
I don't think too many people do, but yeah. So, somebody walks up to you in a bar, doesn't know who you are, and asks, you guys get into a conversation, asks you, hey, what do you do? Or who are you? How do you answer that? Are you a robotics engineer? Are you a hang glider? What do you do? How do you answer that question?
In a bar full of hang glider pilots, I say I'm a roboticist, and in a room full of roboticists, I say I'm a hang glider pilot. You always want to be the standout from the crowd.
Somebody different. Yes. Excellent. Give us the short to long. It doesn't matter. This is a long form podcast, but how'd you get into flying, and what's your history? Go from the beginning to now.
Yeah.
And also, and somewhere in there, plug in what happened in January.
Sure. Well, from day one, I've always wanted to be an astronaut. Growing up, everyone goes through a little astronaut phase. I just never let go of it because I haven't found anything cooler than exploring the final frontier. But there was one fairly substantial problem, and that was I was extremely scared of heights. I grew up in a bungalow. I was terrified just going onto the first floor of a building. I would get vertigo looking out of a first floor window, and I knew I had to overcome this somehow.
Where'd you grow up? Was this in England?
Yeah, I grew up in a bungalow in the middle of the countryside in southwest England, with more
where there's big mountains.
Massive, 300 feet. We've got more sheep than people for neighbors. Had a great time, but yeah, I was pretty scared of heights, and I knew I needed to overcome this. And the best way to overcome your fears is to challenge them head on. So I decided I was going to learn to fly, to get over that. And the cheapest way I could find to get in the air, well, actually the cheapest way, possibly the cheapest way, I became obsessed with wingsuiting videos on YouTube. And I was like, that's what I need to do. The ultimate thrill, blasting down a mountain, skimming the ground a few feet above certain doom. And then I ran out of videos on YouTube because the guys who were making the videos were dying faster than they could get videos out. And the YouTube algorithm said, if you like wingsuiting, maybe you would like hang gliding. That was the first time I came across hang gliding, was thanks to the YouTube algorithm. And I thought, actually, that looks like it has a slightly higher survival rate, and it was a bit more accessible, given that there aren't too many massive cliffs in the UK. So as soon as I got my driving license, I drove down to the nearest hang gliding school, which was with Fipsy in Cornwall, Cloud9. And the first time I'd ever seen a hang glider in real life was the first time I clipped into it for my first lesson. And then I was hooked.
You're shitting me. Really? You hadn't seen it? So where you lived, people aren't flying?
Nope.
Wow. Crazy.
But I decided that there was something that captivated me about the prone face down position. And that's what I had to do to really overcome my fear of heights, is fly like a bird in the most natural way possible. And it was very economical too. So I went down there, and from the moment I took my first hops, I was hooked, and I gradually overcame.
How long ago was this?
That was,
give me a.
Yes.
You look quite young. When was this?
You flatter me. That was when I was 17. As soon as I got my driving license, and so I became the youngest pilot in Britain, and I held on to that for the best part of a decade, I think. I've now been flying 13 years. I just turned 30.
Okay. Wow. Amazing. And have you ever jumped ship and sat and flown those goofy looking things, or you just stayed prone?
Hang gliding's been the gateway drug to all sorts of aviation. I went on to get my fixed wing and rotary licenses and microlight. I've flown a lot of things. I did have a tandem paraglider flight, but it didn't cut the mustard. It's not prone. It's not. There's no substitute for hang gliding. So I'm a bit of a Puritan where that's concerned.
Excellent. Oh, we just radically increased our hang gliding listeners right now. That's perfect. Yeah, you quoted something on your out and back record in January. I know you're getting to that. I'm not trying to force you along, but what did you say? It was great. Let's see. Wait a minute. Where was it? I've got the XC Mag thing pulled up here. What did you? I should have highlighted it, but you said let's go PGs or something. Oh yeah, your move PGs.
Yeah.
I love
it. Of course, it's a friendly rivalry, but it's
of course, yeah.
It's quite worrying, shall we say, that despite your ostensibly theoretically lower performance, paragliders are inexorably creeping towards our world records, and I think that really it's of existential concern for hang gliding if paragliding overtakes it in the record. I mean, it has done now for the triangle record by quite a margin, because we all know that hang gliding can never compete in terms of portability and convenience. So our USP has to be better performance, and the only way to demonstrate better performance is to fly further. And if we're not doing that, then people coming into the sport, when they're faced with a choice, do we go hang gliding or paragliding? I think one of the things that you're going to do is look up what are the pros and cons. Which one? Okay, paragliding is more convenient, but if hang gliding is more performant and I can fly further, that's that's an advantage of hang gliding. And if we no longer have that, then there really aren't too many reasons for taking it, other than it's a more bird-like sensation, and I could wax lyrical about that. But if you're new to the sport and you haven't experienced it firsthand, it's hard to justify. So I'm trying to do my bit to keep the paragliders at bay.
Yeah, well, you've got some characters in your sport. You know, the last time we had an out and back record, it was Owen, who you beat, Owen Morse, and one of the best jugglers in the world. So that's you guys got to just keep being really cool, and you'll be just fine. But yeah, Antoine Gerard just laid down the 400 FAI in Pakistan. Well, it sounds like we got to get you to Texas, because I don't know if you heard, but Dustin, who has the current one way record, it's still his, isn't it, in hang gliding?
Yes, it is.
Yeah, and it's 700 and something, but he was gonna go down with Jeff Shapiro this summer and try to break it on a paraglider. Not it, but break that's where our current world record is down in Texas. Yep. But I don't know. I think they're doing more instructing. I haven't seen him head down that way, and they're also having a hell of a heat wave down there. It would be miserable, but yeah, we got to get you to Texas.
I'd be well up for that. Yeah, I'm getting closer.
Yeah.
Also within spitting distance of the Owens for a few more out and returns.
You're gonna if you've flown there.
Not yet.
Flown the Owens.
No, I went up to Lake Tahoe
you're gonna dig that.
a few weeks ago, and that was awesome. So there's some cracking sites around here.
Yeah, but it doesn't get any bigger than the Owens. That's it's some strong stuff. Great stories all the way back the hang gliding days. But well, cool. Tell me about Kenya.
Well, I'd looked at the records. I figured the open distance is pretty insane, and you probably have to be in Texas to have a shot at that. The triangle, I've been trying a few triangles off the Col d'Izoard in France, where the paragliders have been making a name for themselves. But the out and return looked like the most feasible for me to tackle. So I looked all over Google Earth for the longest continual ridges, and came across the Rift Valley, and then realized the paragliders had already discovered it. Made some inquiries, established that no one had flown a hang glider there since Julie Ledden and co went down in the 90s, and that was with an aerotow expedition, so no one had foot launched the Rift. Shipped a hang glider out fairly speculatively, several months in advance on board a ship, with no real expectation that it would turn up in one piece, or even in the same decade,
or even turn up.
I thought it's worth a shot, and then quite surprised really to receive a call that it had indeed turned up. So then I booked a flight out there, and found a willing driver with a safari wagon, and we went to see what was what. No idea whether it was even flyable, or whether we'd find anywhere suitable to launch. But we just went for it, and as it turned out, it was a fantastic place for hang gliding.
Just you, or
just myself hang gliding. Also had Team Soper, my father, as well as the identity of my observer must remain under wraps, because he or she was meant to be working from home that week, and so we don't let
can't rat her out,
let
he
them
or her
get
out.
in trouble with their employer.
Right. So we went through that when we went down in Texas and tried to break it a few years ago with the observer thing and all that. Do you have to have somebody present?
Yep.
I can't remember. Yep. Okay, so somebody has to actually be there, and it can't be somebody flying with you.
If they are flying, it's possible that if they're still on the ground and they watch you take off, then it's okay. But if they're already up in the air, they could technically witness you, but it's a bit tricky.
Yeah, gotcha. And yeah, take us through it. So you had how long were you there? How long did it take to figure it out? Because you had a big one on the 20th of January, and then 2 days later you had the big one and broke the record. Did it just happen, or were you going for it every day?
Booked 3 weeks out there. Thought that would give me a decent shot at the record, and we turned up the first evening. Went to the first place that I'd decided to scout as a potential takeoff, and found there were 5 trees in the way, and thought, well, that's that then. But our driver, ever resourceful, spoke to one of the tenant farmers there, who said, yeah, we could probably get those trees cut down. So inquiries were made, and I was thinking, well, it might be a week or so before anything happens. And within half an hour, a dude with a chainsaw turned up, and they lopped the 5 trees down for us. So we we had a brand spanking new takeoff. Just had to drop a few of the fences so that we could drive down to the front. Had to pay off the landowner, and that was all tickety boo for the first few days.
How is that in relation to that typical takeoff that I've seen at the hotel?
The takeoff at the hotel is a great takeoff. However, it's not ideal for trying to break the out and return record because it's 40 kilometers along the ridge, and you need to start at one end for the FAI criteria. So I had to find somewhere closer to one end or the other.
Okay, gotcha.
And this was basically
so this one worked. They lopped some trees down, and it was good to go.
Yeah, that was until the third or fourth day, and then, well, they have big families out there in Kenya, and the landowner's brother soon got wind of it, that the landowner had been paid for our access. However, he had not been, so he felt aggrieved and returned one morning to put all the fences back up, and insisted that we pay him. And then it turned out this family had 8 siblings who all wanted a slice of the action. So there were some logistical challenges, of course, as to be expected. But in terms of the takeoff itself, it was perfect. It's straight into a nice chute that the wind always funnels up, and then you're right onto the ridge, only a kilometer from the southern turn point. And as soon as the sun comes up, you start getting a bit of a breeze coming onto the face. And by the time you're ready to go, then you can use most of the available daylight. Run it in dynamic ridge lift for the first
pretty much
hour and a bit, and then the thermals start around 8:30, and you fly it more conventionally after that. Yeah, you were saying?
No, is it pretty much a beam reach out and back, or is there kind of a more of an upwindish leg and then a downwindish leg, or what's the logistics there for going for
the
it?
prevailing wind comes onto the ridge. It's a north-south ridge, and then the meteor wind is easterly. You maybe get a little bit of circulation helping you there and helping you back, but not massively. The trick is to find a day where the prevailing wind is strong enough that it is able to overpower the katabatic that might be coming down over the ridge at the end of the day. However, there's no decent weather forecasting in the region because the nearest actual weather probes are spaced several hundred kilometers apart. So I just had to turn up and try each day, not knowing whether it would be a sensible day to try for the record or not. And it's only when you get down the far end that you know whether you've got a reasonable chance of making it back. But by then it's too late to bail, because the quickest way to get back is to fly back. So every time you're taking off, you're essentially committing to an 8, 9, 10 hour day in the saddle. You also don't want to be landing out in the middle of the valley in the heat of the day, because there were some dust devils that you'd probably call tornadoes back home, and there's lions and elephants if you land out in the middle of the valley.
Sounds awesome. Is it the kind of thing like in Brazil where if you're not on a certain pace by hour 2, you just turn around and go back home and take a nap?
No. I mean, I hadn't been there long enough to know what that pace would be, but I found that the outbound leg is slower, and then on the way back, if you're lucky, you get some clouds marking the lift, and you can run it home much quicker. So you should never give up hope too early. On the record day itself, I thought I was way behind the pace in terms of if getting to the far end was halfway through the day, then I was way behind that. But I just had a quicker run home.
My math is probably not on here. I don't have my stuff pulled up in front of me, but you went 377 out and back, and it was a 10.5-hour flight. That grabs me as quite slow. Is that?
I'm not. I'm not the fastest.
37K an hour. Yeah, right.
Yeah. I'm not the fastest pilot on the block. I've not placed top 10 or anything in a Cat 1 comp. So no doubt there are people that could do it faster. But my USP, if you like, is just hanging in there for 10.5 hours. That's a skill in itself.
Yeah, no, and I wasn't picking on it. I was thinking more of the conditions. Or is it the kind of thing where you're having to spend a lot of time? Because I thought it was just ridge running, but it sounds like it's not.
It's only ridge running
a lot more thermaling.
For the first hour, when you've got enough dynamic lift and you're close to the ridge. But after that first southerly section where it's quite sheer, it gets less steep, so it's more 45 degrees, and there isn't enough of a meteo wind to run it like a coastal site. So you are relying on thermals. So
you're turning.
Yep.
Okay. What I've heard from the PGs that have been there, that have flown there quite a bit, it has always sounded quite spicy, because you don't have a ton of margin. You're quite close to the terrain, and it can be quite strong. Is that something that's not as big a deal on a hang glider? I mean, how would you rate this place in terms of, difficulty and sketchiness?
The lift can be off the charts. I had a sustained 10 meter per second. But it was surprisingly smooth. The days that the PGs said they were feeling, well, they were butt clenching, were actually not that bad on a hang glider. We can fly in stronger winds, and actually I needed the stronger wind for the record day. As I said, it was only on the strong day that it was enough to reverse the catabatics to get me home on the last stretch in the evening. I would say that I gave the fingers, as we call them, where you've got to do a bit of tacking upwind, I gave them a wide berth because I was wary about being trapped behind any of the ridges that where the ridge breaks and steps back a bit. So I did on most of the flights take a line across the flats there to cut the corner off. Although that relies on finding on the cloud streets appearing when you're ready to come back. So another reason it might be quite slow on the way out is there's no clouds marking the lift. You have to hope that by the time you get to the far end, the cumuli start appearing, and then you can make up some time.
I haven't been there. I've only read that there's kind of the lower shelf and a higher shelf. Is the possibility of getting blown back like the dumps? Is that no man's land? Is that bad? Or can you just, if you get too far back, you've given you cut the corner too much and you're not able to get back up to the ridge, is it a big deal?
The higher shelf, lower shelf,
other than inconvenience,
most of the time, as long as you're level with the higher shelf, you could glide off the lower one. But there are a few times where I was thinking, if there isn't good lift here, then I will struggle to clear the lower lip. And I don't really want to be landing on that plateau because you're talking 2,600 meters up, hot and high. So a hang glider would be coming in very fast. And yeah, a few occasions I was also in butt clenching mode, just gingerly hoping that the lift would sustain me until I got to a point where I could easily glide clear of the lower lip. I would say the spiciest bits of it from a hang glider perspective are the outlandings. I'd looked on Google Earth before I got there and found there were probably...
Okay, hope you're enjoying this show with Jeremy. And as we have done with the last couple shows, we're cutting this one off on the normal channel about halfway through. And if you want to listen to the rest of it, it's over on the subscriber channel. Most of you have already hopefully made that switch, but if you haven't, just get on the website, cloudbasemayhem.com, go to podcast under that subscriber content and get all signed up. and you can listen to those shows on whatever platform you listen to, other than a couple. Unfortunately, Spotify and YouTube Music do not support private feeds, but most of them do. And if you have any trouble, let me know. We'll get you all set up. Enjoy the rest of this show over on the subscriber feed. Thanks for listening. Cheers.